Inspiration can come from anywhere. Madam Toastmasters, dear members and guests. The story of King Robert the Bruce of Scotland might be familiar to some of you here. For those who do not know, long, long ago, in the Middle Ages, there was once a king in the Scottish Highlands named King Robert the Bruce. For all his goodness, people also called him the Good King Bruce. And for all the good in him, he but lost to England not once, not twice, but 6 times. Driven out from his own lands by Edward I, King of England, Robert took shelter in a cave hole up the mountains. There, high above the mountain, in a deep, dark cave hole, when all hope was lost and despair slowly closed in on King Robert, he thought, alas, all his struggles were in vain. It would do good to quit and surrender to Edward the First. Then, at that very moment when life seemed most dark and difficult, King Robert spotted a spider up the cave wall, trying to spin a thread to a higher stone above it. 6 times. 6 times the spider tried to climb up the spun thread, and 6 times it slipped and fell. 6. Alas, the number was too painful for Robert too. One more time it was, the seventh. The seventh time the spider tried, it made it. It climbed up to the higher rock with the thread that it had spun. This time he did not fall. King Robert was inspired. He remembered the spider who, despite its repeated fall, kept trying. King Robert stood, went out, and reclaimed his throne the seventh time. Inspiration came to him in the form of a spider. Inspiration can come from anywhere. Another timeline, another name. At the age of 5, his father died. At 16, he quit school. At 17, he had lost 4 jobs already. At 18, he got married. He joined the army and was washed out there. At 20, his wife left him and took their baby. He became a cook in a small cafe and convinced his wife to return home. At 65, he retired. He felt like a failure and decided to commit suicide. He sat down to write his last note before committing suicide. But instead, he wrote what he would have accomplished with his life and thought about how good a cook he was. He borrowed $89, fried up some chicken using his own recipe, and went from door to door to sell it. Aged 88, Colonel Sanders founded the Kentucky Fried Chicken Empire, and we all know what KFC has made of him. Inspiration came to Colonel Sanders in the form of his biography that was planned to be a suicide note. Inspiration can come from anywhere. A generation later, a young girl of class 5, 11 years old, was once asked to represent her class at an extempo competition at school. The organizers of the event were from a snack manufacturing company by the name of Lay's, doing some promotional activity at her school. One by one, all of the 9 out of 10 participants spoke on spontaneously allotted topics about fictional comic characters. Last but not the least, it was her turn. As she stood on the stage in the school auditorium in front of thousands of kids, she read her topic out of a sheet of paper. If I were Jane, resonated the words. She stood still, the auditorium stood still, and time stood still for 3 minutes. She was unable to speak, for she was scared to see so many faces looking upon her. She had blanked out as to who Jane was. That was the first 3 minutes of That was the first 3 minutes of her life that she had faced an audience, but that was the last time she wasn't able to speak in front of her audience. She grew up to take part in hundreds of school extempos debates, thereafter making her school proud in inter-school competitions. Later on, she made her university proud in 5 other intercollegiate extempo debate and speech competitions. That little girl stands in front of you today. Inspiration came to her in the form of failure, and never give up is the message that she took from it. As for King Robert, or for Colonel Sanders, or the small girl, all of them have failed one or the other time in their lives, and all of them had drawn inspiration from those failures. Hence, my friends, inspiration can come from anywhere, even from the very opposite word, namely failure. Inspiration can come from anywhere.